Sangita, welcome to Jason Unleashed. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Wonderful to have you on the show. You know, I'm a huge fan. And let me start by saying that I've been trying to get up to Toronto. That's like on my bucket list. I never can make it there. Me and my husband are like, yes, Canadian, vacation, all the things. And it hasn't happened. But I feel like you being on the show today, I'm kind of manifesting that. How's life?
Yeah, you need to come down here, especially during TIFF, because I know you're into films, you're into television. You need to come down and see the vibe here. We're like a mini New York, you know?
I hear
Just
that.
cleaner.
But cleaner. Also, I'm a massive fan of The Handmaid's Tale, and so like I also have this affinity for Canada because of that show. But I digress. First of all, congratulations on this new show, Love and Translation. We're going to
Oh,
talk
thank
about
you.
that. But you have been on this journey of healing and health, and I want to dive into that because you are someone who has hundreds of thousands of fans who you've invited to come along on this journey. You had announced that you had thyroid cancer. How are you
Mhm.
now? What's going on? How's the prognosis? Where are we at?
It's I'm in the middle of it right now. It's a bit shocking. I was on television last year on ET Canada and I got this little lump. Didn't think much of it. My co-host was like, "There's something there on your neck." I'm like, "Ah, it's probably a little infection, no big deal." And it grew and it grew and it grew. And she's like, "You need to go see the doctor." So I went to the doctors and they're like, "Let's get it checked out. Let's get an ultrasound." Did the ultrasound, get a biopsy, benign. So I'm like, "I'm good. Life is good." And during the film festival, I did this one particular interview and it was aired. And I got so many messages, Jason, saying, "You need to go check your neck out because you're living with it every day. You're not thinking it's
Right.
that big." It was a huge lump. And luckily, my husband's in medicine and he connected me with the right doctors. And I went to go see him and he spent 2 hours with me. And this was after hours. I literally showed up to his clinic. I go, "Can you see me?" I didn't even have an appointment. And he's like, "Let's get this out." And so we did. And I was like, he knows what he's doing. I feel like we're okay. And then a few weeks after, I get the pathology report, and I had the rare cancer of thyroid because thyroid cancer is very common. And I didn't know that. I know a lot of people get thyroid issues, but I did not know there were different types of cancers. And the one I got, unfortunately, leaked into my blood vessels.
Wow.
And so now I'm dealing with the aftermath, and another surgery is coming up. I'm going to have to do some radiation, and this is all preventative. When Kate Middleton came out and talked about her situation, I went through the same thing. You're thinking you're going in for surgery, you're going to be fine. You get the pathology report, and now you're doing preventative surgery, and that's where I'm sitting at right now. So I'm in the midst of it right now, Jason, and it's a very emotional journey, but I'm
Yeah.
staying positive.
Yeah. What was that one resounding emotion that you had to sit with over and over again?
I think it was being a patient. I never go to the doctors. I go when I think I'm one of the healthiest people I know.
Yeah.
I'm in fitness. I eat fairly well. I'm active. I'm happy. I got all of that. And then I remember walking into the Princess Margaret Cancer Center and I'm about to meet the oncologist. And I walked in, Jason, and I stopped and I was, "Why the fuck am I here right now?" Like that was
Yeah.
that moment for me.
Yeah.
And I realized I'm going to have to go see the doctor every 3 months for the first year. Every 6 months, I'm going to have to do a scan. I'm that person now. And that was the hardest part for me. Sure, the cancer is going to be taken care of. I have a solution now. I'm going to have to go through the process. I'm going to go through all of that. But the idea that I'm actually a patient, and that's what freaks me out the most.
It's this new identity, right? Because
Right.
you have to, and no matter and I'm only speaking to you from the perspective of trying to connect with you in this space because I am too a healthy person. I work out, but you do all the things right, and then it's like the universe says, "Well, here you go." And so you have to completely adjust and reframe, and then in a way reimagine your identity of who you are. You said, "Now I'm a patient," and
Yeah.
what that does to you emotionally and physically and mentally, I can only imagine. But you are this beam of light and energy and
Mhm.
positivity. I mean, fitness is just one aspect of what you share with the world. You also share love and joy. I mean, your Instagram is one shiny, happy place, Sangita.
Yay.
Seriously. But I'm glad that we're getting on the other side of this and
Yeah.
that you're here to talk about it today because I'm sure there's someone watching right now who is probably feeling alone in their diagnosis or whatever they're going through. And
Yeah.
in a world where we connect via social media and via, digital Instagram and all those things, it still feels very lonely sometimes. It still feels like
You know,
you are isolated and you're the only one going through it. Even though you know you're not, your
yeah.
experience feels very lonely, I'm sure.
Yeah, when this happened, I was like, do I share this? And I've been very authentic with my talking about social media. I've been very authentic, trying to be very authentic. You will see me without makeup. You will see me my those vulnerable moments, and that's who I am. And that's when I realized I have this incredible community that's been created on social media. And when I put that post out, the reaction of how many women are going through it, and I did not know, right? I didn't even know what this whole situation was, and the way people share their stories. And these are strangers, you don't know them, but their stories resonate. And I'm like, now my story is resonating with them. And the idea of being lonely, it's so interesting you say that, Jason, because yes, I always sit with my thoughts and then I go, all right, clear. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to find the positive. My dad was sick last year. My dad and I talked about it. He goes, think of all the positive experiences we had. And then I was in Barbados 2 weeks ago, and it was a Thursday night, and something triggered me. I don't know what it was. I maybe was looking at my daughter. I don't know what it was. And I had a crying moment. I had that uncontrollable crying moment. And I let it be. I sat there with my husband and go, I'm just going to have this moment. I'm going to have to go through this. And I did.
Right.
And then I did this and I go, it's time to move on. Right.
Yeah.
But that's a lesson. That's a lesson I've learned, is that you sometimes have to sit with your emotions. And I don't do that often. And this was the learning point for me.
Sangita, what you said is so important and just resonates with me because sometimes the only way through something, or more times than not, the only way through something is through it. It's through it. You can't avoid it. There's no banner of avoidance you can live under. And it's okay to have those moments where you're just like, this sucks. This, this,
Yeah.
this. Christina Applegate talked about her MS diagnosis and what's been going on now. She found three, I think it was three tumors or there's something along that nature where she opened up about this is a shitty experience. And no matter
Yeah.
how much you try to spin it positively, it's okay to just be like, this sucks. And let me just live in this moment right now and be human and then move on. And you have to do that for yourself because if you suppress and depress, what do you become? Depressed. And,
Yeah.
and I mean, life is messy. Life is shitty.
And you started therapy, as you said. What was the learning point for you? Like, have you been able to get out of those moments? Have you found a way to do that?
Not yet, and one
Yeah.
great question. Thank you for asking. I think it's not this linear journey where like you hop in there, you start talking to someone who doesn't know you, and you have all these aha moments. Majority of the time, you're upset, crying, and mad and angry, but you're also thankful that you have someone that you can just release that to, that's not judgmental, that isn't there to tell you to get over it. Look at you, you're so successful, you've done this, you've done that. All the stuff that you know that you're grateful for, sure, you're absolutely grateful for those things, but you still,
Mhm.
as a human, have a whole range of emotions that you should be able to move through safely. And there's not a lot of safe spaces, if you will, that you can go and talk to people that are not going to gaslight you. And gaslighting could be a myriad of things. It could be that, oh, get over it, or oh,
Yeah.
Sangita, you have so much to live for, right?
Yeah.
But in this moment, I'm upset. In this
Yeah.
moment, I'm angry. In this moment, I'm disappointed. And it's okay to be those things. So I think what I've gotten from therapy thus far is just a safe space to be upset, to be angry,
Mhm.
to hold myself accountable, to blame, because in all of that conversation, in the blaming, you also have aha moments of like, well, I gave people power. I had control over that situation. I need to take back that power. So it's that growth that also comes from the messy and ugliness and all of that that you're finally working through. And I think that's been one of the benefits of therapy for me. And I advise anyone who's looking for a therapist or trying to get into therapy, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
It's one of those things I need to go through. But at the same time, it's scary to let yourself go through that process. And so I think this was I'm not saying this was a message I was sent from the universe, or, even that. I am like, God, why are you giving this to me right now? I'm doing everything right. Why are you teaching me a lesson right now? And I don't know. So I'm going through it right now. So it's a process. Check in with me in a few weeks and in 2 months after the surgery and see how I'm doing, because
We'll do.
hopefully I'm in a better state in terms of emotionally going through this process. But I am finally feeling it and saying that this is happening right now.
Good. And good for
Yeah.
you. And Jason Unleashed here with me, always a safe space. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
It's important.
Mm.
Okay, so I loved ET Canada. I was so sad when I found it. It was the swan song going away. You, Cheryl, Graham, all you guys were just you guys were just our fun entertainment partners to the north. And
Yeah.
you have had this incredible career. You've talked to everyone. I mean, some people will call you like the Oprah of Canada, Sangita, for real. I'm serious.
The brown
Now you're back.
version.
Now you're back on TV in Love and Translation on TLC. This is reimagining dating. And I love this show for so many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons I like this show is because love language is different for many people. But when we connect with people, what's the first thing that we do? It's sight, sound, and touch. And you have this massive language barrier with these 12 single females and these three men from America that are looking to find love. What drew you to want to host this show?
So when they told me about this, before I was on television, I used to be an engineer.
Right.
So when they came to me with this concept, like the engineer in me is like, I want to see if this actually is true. Can you actually fall in love without the use of language? And I did a lot of study on it. And I'm like, okay, so 90% of our communication is nonverbal. Every day we non-verbally are making these communications happen with people on the streets, or, when you're driving and someone's, tailgating you, whatever, you give the finger, whatever it is. And I wanted to see if it actually works when it comes to falling in love. And I guess I could wink a little bit that it is successful. And for me to be on the sideline to watch the way they're trying to communicate, there's the American way,
Mhm.
the guys would slow down their words. I'm like, it's still the same word. You're just slowing it down. They're not going to get it. And the way the women are traditionally and culturally, because one of the girls who's from Japan,
Yes.
they don't kiss. They don't hold hands. They don't look into people's eyes, because one of the first ones is gazing into someone's eyes for 2 minutes. And that was really uncomfortable for her. So like learning through all of that, I just found it really fascinating. And then I come home and try it on my husband. He's like, well, what the hell are you doing? Like, stop, don't stare at me for 2 minutes. What are you doing? But then I started using it too. I'm like, I'm talking more with my hands. I'm talking more with my body language. And I find that really interesting now when people talk to me in a room. If someone turns away from me, I'm like, there's a good chance they don't want to talk to me right now, right? Like those are the things you start picking up on. And that's what I want the viewers to get out of this, is say, how do I communicate? But it is so fascinating to watch how the guys would adjust their ways to communicate with the girls, because I can translate with the girls and the girls can talk to me with their translators. So it's great, but they're on the outside, and it's so fascinating to watch.
It's beyond fascinating. I love the infusion of technology, as you mentioned, the translators. I thought that was a nice touch because they're young women that just speak a different language, but the
Right.
universal language is to connect and they
Yeah.
all want to find love. And
Yeah.
something else that stuck out to me was when some of the women would talk about the role that women play in society from where they come from
Mm.
and how they see American men as at the zenith, the pinnacle of masculinity, of what they should aspire to ascertain as women. I thought, this is going to challenge that as well, because I'm sure when you're thrown into a situation where you have this preconceived notion of what a person should be, and then you come to find out, wait, that's not true. That also challenges, again, what we're talking about, identity.
But that's the other thing. You're bang on. Like, you get to see how we actually do communicate, and it's interesting to watch how the guys are different too. One is more sensitive, one is more, people are not getting his way. Trip is like everyone's tripping on Trip, right? Like, there's the situation with him where he just doesn't know how to communicate. He only knows how to use language, so he has to really adjust his way. And you'll see that through the series. Like, he finds other ways to communicate with the girls. And you're right, with the girls too. There are some girls learning from other girls. Like, Ari's very timid, while one from Brazil is like, I'm ready to party. I'm out there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to kiss him. I'm going to do all that. And she's like, oh, I need to be more confident. But is that confidence, or is that just culturally the way things are in their country? Right. So it's all of that, learning that too. And at the end, I can't say what's going to happen, but at the
Damn.
end, women who tend to have that confidence tend to win, which I find really interesting. It's not the guys, it's the girls with the confidence that tend to win.
As someone like yourself who has won the awards, has hosted the shows, done all the things, was there a time in your career where you thought it wasn't going to happen for you? I mean, you had a degree, you have a degree in engineering. did the weather, but now you've had this incredible career on TV at a huge brands, HGTV as well. But was there a time where you thought like, this is not my jam, this is not my bag, why am I doing this? Should I try doing something else?
So I think, the fact that you said that I did engineering and then I did weather and then I did television, I'm that person who says, walk through that door. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You go the other way. I am that person who loves to try different things. I get antsy and tired really quickly. So I always find some, I have a lot of ambition.
Yeah.
And that's what drives me. So yeah, things don't add up sometimes, but if you don't ask or if you don't try, you never know. And so I'm an engineer doing an entertainment show for 10 years. How's that even possible? Right? Like these are the things. And there was one reporter I used to work with at City TV, and it was my second day there. I was doing weather. He tells me to come in his office and he goes, "You don't give an F what you do on television. Keep it that way." And he goes, "Leave my office." And I'm like, what does he mean by that? I think because I came from an engineering background, I just knew how to be me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't impressed by being that other person. I'm inspired by other people, but I never try to make myself someone else. And I think that's where my success came from, is just walk through that door and just say, "Hey, I'm Sangita Patel. What's up?"
Yeah.
And that's what's worked for me.